Welcome back to the SaaS Playbook, the podcast where we unpack the real stories behind founders, operators, and leaders building at the edge of technology. Today's episode is brought to you by Hera Digital, helping founders build predictable sales engines and smarter revenue systems. Comment system and someone will reach out to you. Today, I'm joined by Ronen, the CEO of Arcana Labs, an AI-powered creative ecosystem working with major studios and reshaping how enterprises think about generative AI, content production, and workflow. Guy, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you here.
Hey, Jenny, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So you've raised over 100 million across ventures and seen the VC, PE, and operator side of the table. What shapes your decision-making framework as CEO now at Arcana Labs?
So I think when seeing a lot of different ventures, it's always circled around what type of problems are you solving and for whom? And how critical is this problem? And seeing the shift in the industry into AI generally, but definitely Gen AI, at least in the last, I think 6-7 months, for me was a tremendous, example about, okay, there's something here. Something is changing in the landscape. And this is what, definitely with Arcana, we're trying to kind of make the consumers as well as businesses that we're working with life easier. We're aggregating everything together and actually solving a problem. It's been so many times that I watched artists and creators working with AI with 15 different tabs, 15 different subscriptions, can't even, recall or, monitor what they're doing regarding, money, of course, and assets, duplicating the same process 15 times to create the same scene. It's just not going to work. Okay, you have to work with an ecosystem with multimodal. And the combination of Gen AI with what's happening right now in the industry and the solution that Arcana brings, I think that's you want to call it the perfect storm, but we actually, solving a huge problem while educating clients. And that's not less important, I think, education. And there's two ways of education. And then, I know I'm taking it a bit too far here with the answer, but one is to educate about the platform and how to work with AI. But the other thing is also educate why AI is it's not something that you should have, afraid of. AI is not here to replace people. People that adapt and going to work with AI will replace people that refuse to. But a lot of effort to educate people to change the state of mind of, oh my God, that's going to take our jobs and that's going to kill everyone. Being a bit more optimistic, I think.
That is a very closed-minded way of thinking. And those people who think like that naturally will be outsourced anyway. But I really love the fact that Arcana and you are approaching this in a more of an educational standpoint. And Arcana is built at such a high level that if you don't have the right education to use and prompt the tool correctly, you're not going to see the full potential. And I'm one of those people, admittedly, that don't have that education piece around creative prompting, but also how to then fully utilize those tools to give the output that you really want. So what really made you identify and recognize that, hey, we actually need an education piece, because not a lot of founders would offer that?
Well, quite early in the way, we met so many potential clients, like a prospect that said, oh, amazing, I don't know how to do that. That's the first thing. And then, amazing, I got a team of marketers and creators, but hey, they're working with Photoshop and other stuff. So how can I convert them? And then there's the fact that AI is rapidly changing and shifting on a weekly basis. In Arcana, we're working with over 30 different models and engines and different capabilities. We're enhancing inside Arcana and everything, video to video, of course, and really soon audio and sound. So many tools changing rapidly on a weekly basis, and we're keep up to speed with doing the diligence and implementing them. How can you expect a client, as easy as it could be to sit on the same platform and getting new tools every week, how can you expect him to actually control everything? There's a lot of things to keep up with the speed to understand. So we definitely see the basic about working with Gen AI, but then you have to keep up to speed with everything that is changing. And that's literally, I'm not just saying on a weekly basis, not even a monthly basis. And this is why we started to support our clients in two different verticals that's surrounding as an ecosystem our SaaS, our platform. One is an online academy. VOD is almost any topic that you think. Top-notch instructors from Disney, Epic Games, name it, about doing courses, VODs, about just the basic bootcamp, commercials, music videos, gaming, design, architecture, sci-fi, name it, it's going to be there. And that's a great resource for our clients. The second one is obviously we can produce for them. And the reason to produce for them, again, to address a lot of clients' needs. But more than that, while you're producing and the client is really want to sit next to you and shadow you while you're doing that, you're actually kind of a double dipping here because you're giving him, the product, but he's also learning. And this is another way to educate. So we got consulting in person, we got producing with the clients, and we got the academy. So everything is surrounding the SaaS, and that's necessary. It's just shifting so fast. We have to make sure our clients and customers are like up to date.
Yeah, that's very forward thinking. And maybe some other startup founders can take some notes here to actually look at the ecosystem around the SaaS platform and understand the key component is how. It came up probably every second word there, which then you will clearly be able to identify that even if no matter how great the product is, if people don't know how to use it, they're most likely not going to use it, right?
100%.
That perspective shift would see a lot more founders in the startup space really create something, one, meaningful, but two, more of a guarantee that people are going to use the tool.
I think it's really necessary in building a business, and I've done that several times, and a lot of people and listeners and watchers, like the audience, probably did that as well. You're building a business. There's a few things that you cannot skip on the way. Part of that is that the entrepreneurs and the founders and the executives need to be involved in the sales process at the beginning. Why? Not because you're just saving money with salesperson, because you're learning what are the pain points, what are the clients' needs, what are they missing, what are the questions. And we quite along, earlier the way learned that, hey, I want to use that. I don't know how to. And as a necessity, we just open those resources for everyone.
It's adaptive, but also it's very innovative. Was there a moment early in your career that fundamentally changed how you build now?
Wow, amazing question. Tons, probably. I think every time that I did a mistake, and there's tons of mistakes, you can see here, but I got a lot of gray hair. Over 20 years of doing mistakes. It's as long as you're not repeating the mistakes, that's the best tuition fee, right? You learn something, you're growing. I rather do mistakes early on the way than actually late down the road. I think that the main thing that I learned, besides actually, tackling your approach, fail fast, why it's not going to work, is taking the things and not being in love with your, company, product, service, whatever. Okay. Be open. Again, it's a fine tuning and delicate balance. You can't be open to any comment. Otherwise, you're not going to manage a company and scale up a company, but you need to be open and not in love. Yeah, it's going to work. Yes, they're going to pay for it. No, if the market cannot pay for what you're providing, even if it's great, you don't have a business. So there's so many things that you need to adjust. The client's perspective is super important. The client is in the middle. Otherwise, you don't have a business. And sometimes we're in love with a solution and think that we're solving a problem. But hey, no one needs this solution. I think that's the best thing to learn, early on the way, and be honest with yourself. There's a lot of ego in business. Put that aside for a second, and I think that's the most important thing. And be open to learn. I'm learning every day from everyone. Just like balance exactly what you're taking and changing, and what you just okay. I heard you. Like that's okay.
Mm, hmm. That really drives to your level of experience, right? Because even before Arcana, you had already had exits, deep experiences in scaling. But what made this particular opportunity compelling enough to step in and give it a good go again? And what did you see that maybe others didn't?
I saw a huge gap in the market with a lot of model companies, a lot of studios that want to work with AI, and nothing in the middle. It's clear that you cannot work with one model. It's clear that you need a multi-model and work with all of them because each one of them doing something else good. It's clear that you cannot just produce with AI without getting a workflow underneath the system and improve what's happening right now. And there's so many criteria that actually the market said. A lot of our co-founders said repeating this sentence. We're not a Silicon Valley company. We're a Hollywood company. We're based in Hollywood. And our executive team is even, cut like that. You see a few business executives, but even more entertainment executive. And I think that's the secret sauce. And by doing that, we're actually addressing a niche that no one is addressing, exactly in the middle. We're taking the models, we're fine-tuning, improving them, signing a direct partnership with most of them. Why? Because Arcana is one of the only places that actually all the models can work together. Google will never work with the ByteDance, that will never work with Kling. This is a huge competition. In Arcana, they all blend together. So we're signing direct partnership, reducing the cost, improving the models, putting a workflow for filmmaking. And why filmmaking? We got marketers and other domains. Why filmmaking? Because filmmaking is the highest standard. And if we build for filmmakers, everything will fall underneath that. So we did that. We secure the platform. So it's an AI at the end. It's running on open source, of course, but it's more secure than the same models outside of Arcana. So your assets are not going to run in YouTube while you're working on them. And this is why it's opened us a lot of doors in studios. And by definition, right now, Arcana is working with Hollywood studios and a lot on shows, on cinematics release, on different productions, besides the marketing, the CPG, and other companies that we're working with. So this niche, and we're talking about like a course of 10 months, barely, since we launched fully with the business side of that, is necessary. It's totally necessary. And we're seeing how many clients and appetite we're getting from the studios. And by the way, the same studios 6-7 months ago said, "AI going to kill the industry." And it was after the strike and everything. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's actually going to heal the industry.
Why do you say heal the industry, guy?
Because let's be honest, and I'm living in LA, so I'm familiar with that. My wife, she's a producer, a typical producer, a traditional one, not AI. 95 to 97% of the industry is unemployed. Is unemployed. 98% of the scripts will never be produced. Actually, 99% will never be produced. There's a million scripts sitting right now in drawers in Hollywood that will never be produced. Let's say that 1% out of those million scripts is good. So many good stories to tell that will never be produced. So how can you break or ruin an industry that is already broken? So I think we're healing that. We're giving opportunity to a lot of creators that could never get this opportunity otherwise. Put aside the kids and creators that couldn't afford even a camera, and now they actually filmmakers due to Arcana. But even traditional studios and productions in Hollywood, not everything is F1 and Mission Impossible. Those productions struggle for budgets. It's rare to see a production that is profitable. The talents and producers and everyone that related to the production finish and releasing a production almost with no profits. At the good case, at the bad case, it could be actually losing money. So we're healing this industry. There's a lot of blends. We're not saying 100% AI, but we're touching a lot of productions and shaving millions out of the cost. And that's clearly making, make or break. That's a difference between losing money and a failure into a successful, profitable production. And we're doing that a lot.
You're really opening the doors, like almost the floodgates, actually, not the doors, floodgates of what could really be produced in a quicker time frame as well.
And a higher production value. Faster, look amazing, and obviously cheaper. A lot of our co-founders, a few of our co-founders say, so it's not mine, but we're allowing people to take risks again.
Yeah. And unfortunately, when it comes down, especially to the creative space, that is often trumped by the business aspect. Is this going to make us money? Probably not. So therefore, it's not going to go ahead, which then the creators within the space don't have an avenue or a platform to really show what they can do, right? That really plugs the gap for that space, not even just from a Hollywood space, but even just the lower level with sort of small productions, right?
The really good storytellers, most of the time, will never get the chance. No one will take a risk to find something that could be an amazing story, but it's not going to be a blockbuster.
Yeah. Or they don't even know where to start, right? Whereas now the barrier of entry is a lot easier to enter with Arcana there. Having that at your fingertips could make a massive difference, but not even just from the Hollywood side, but I'm also thinking from a marketing and enterprise Silicon Valley side, where they can really start to level up their marketing at cinematic level, which would separate them from the crowd so significantly.
And storytellers you can find all over. I'm quite sure that the next Steven Spielberg or Darren Aronofsky is not sitting in Hollywood. They're sitting somewhere in Oklahoma or in Texas or in India or Africa. I think Bill Clinton said, talent spread equally, but opportunity is not. And we're giving opportunity again.
I love that. I've always been amazed at the story since we first spoke. And I was like, look, I'm really looking forward to this episode, mainly because of the passion that you have for it, Guy. But secondly, the way that you're approaching GTM. And thirdly, what is the actual platform doing for the industry? So, Arcana sits at an intersection between enterprise, Gen AI, creative production, and workflow orchestration. Who is your real ICP today, and how has that evolved from where you initially thought it would be?
So we still hold two very different client base. One is the D2C. Okay, we do have consumers, basic one. Some of them are their own businesses, solopreneur, if you want to call it, but a lot of those, a few hundred of thousands of those. We're not really investing in developing for them. We just enjoy them enjoying the system, and we're learning a lot. They're learning a lot. So win-win situation. The main business in Arcana is the B2B, is the businesses. Now, it's funny to say, and it's being entrepreneur, a little bit of VC as well. It's never a good thing to say to investor that who's your target market, like KYC. Everyone can use that. No, that's the wrong answer. But to be honest, any organization, company that need to create anything that is visual can use that. So we're seeing pharmaceutical companies, we're seeing other CPGs, we're seeing small marketing agencies, we're seeing team of 3 or 4 that dealing with their own product. We're seeing startups want to promote their product, and right now the only way, one picture worth 1,000 words. A short sizzle of a minute can do a lot to a startup company that need to expand their product. So startups suddenly doing commercials. Who heard about startup? Like me 20 years ago, I couldn't afford even the electricity in the office. Now they're doing commercials, in AI. So that's amazing. And obviously, production companies, studios, design houses, even CGI and VFX houses that need to adjust something or they convert into AI is using that. So many clients, food and beverage industry, again, CPG issues, other things that we're seeing. You can design with AI. So we're seeing even architecture working with that. You'll be surprised. We even got a few nature photographers that using AI because they can flip, change angles, control the light. And I know it sounds like weird to do that with like nature photography, but they're doing that. This is such a powerful tool. Anyone that want to deliver a message, a story, a commercial, any assets that is visual can use that.
It's nuts. I'm just my brain is still blown at how much use cases there are, even just in the early stages. Because you mentioned it's only been on the market for 10 months, right? So to grow at the level that Arcana has grown, probably to do with your involvement, Guy, but that just tells me the proof of concept was already done. But it really does bridge a lot of gaps, regardless of what type of business, what level of business you're at. Because everyone in 2026 and beyond, we all know content is king, right? But not everyone has the time, the finances, the commercial aspect to allocate, right? Now you can. So I feel like I'm promoting Arcana really at this point.
It's here to stay. Yeah, it's here to stay, and it's necessary, and I think it's very powerful, and it's exactly like kind of old fashioned, but or old school. But I can definitely mention that because it's a great platform and software. PowerPoint. So who's the client for PowerPoint? Kids, students, in university, organizations, startups. Who's not? So that's the same. You got an idea, you want to put it into the creative way and actually show that. That's exactly the same tool. That's exactly the same use case.
Yeah, wow. You mentioned in our previous conversations long enterprise sales cycles, education, diligence, compliance. Where is the real friction in the offering for the B2B side for Arcana at the moment?
I think as long as the organization is bigger and their life cycle is longer, I think the sales cycle will take longer to implement. Either with compliance, a lot of big organization, and that's the situation in our current landscape. The legal aspect of AI is still not 100% defined. So we know who owns the right and we know how to protect ourselves in court because are kind of collecting the metadata to see that you're not actually in an IP infringement or things like that. But a lot of companies are afraid to move, not because they can't, because what does it going to do? How my clients will react to AI? Am I going to do fake? We're not dealing with deep fake, but deep fake. And then what will happen to the industry? And then it's going to reflect to the business, right? And the legality of things. So there's so many aspects not related to, hey, it's going to take me 2 weeks and my team will know how to work with AI. That's not the main concern. The compliance is the main concern. What's the reflection of using AI is the main concern. I onboarded a few big accounts the last couple of months that the biggest took me 4.5 months. With booklets of paperwork about who owned that and if that happened and what happened to the technology. That it's crazy. And as long as the organization is smaller, it's easier. Now that happened also with studios, but that happened quite fast. Okay, and like 6-7 months ago they were against. Now there's a long line. They're using that. Some of the major studios approved us as an approved provider. So okay, we already got like huge advancement here. And they're starting to see that, okay, at the end of the day is the bottom line. We need to be profitable. Hey, they can help us be profitable. Perfect. We're servicing a production or a cinematic movie, 13.5 million in budget. Quite low in Hollywood means, but for them, we shaved a few millions. And this is supposed to be a profitable production. And that's going to release in theaters and sci-fi movie. a movie, not like a student's project, something like that. Companies realizing that, hey, that's a tool that's going to serve us. We're going to get, farther with that. Yeah, we're going to use that.
I mean, with that in mind, with the conversation back to compliance, how does Arcana handle compliance at enterprise level?
So AI is still not figured. There's the AI Act, executive order in the US, the AI Act in Europe, and each one of the different countries dealing with that differently. Arcana is trying to be up to speed with everything, all the news. Obviously, we got a very strong legal partners that guide us with everything. We're trying to do everything by the book. At the end of the day, I can give you examples not from Arcana, but from AI and Cores, because there's a lot of open lawsuit, not with Arcana, but with the big model companies and specific studios. And it's always, let's go to the end. None of the judge, definitely not in the US, will close any model company. That's not going to happen. Okay. None of the judge will say, I'm against technology. That's not going to happen. They will dive deeper about the processes and try to analyze what are you doing in the background to do that. So, one of the major things is to take a look at the prompts. How do you get to that? Take a look if you upload your own creation, storyboard, man-made storyboard. Arcana is supporting storyboard that you sketch or any other sketch. You can actually doodle in Arcana, okay, and create your image. Arcana also collect all those evidence. We call it paper trail. And now you can actually show, hey, that's exactly how I got to these results. So it's mine. I sketch that, I upload that. But the old method, I'm saying old because quite fast basic prompts are disappearing. We're already working video to video. You can upload videos and it doesn't need to really prompt very long ones. But the old method was that the judge, a few months, the judge would look at the prompt. And if you asked, I want, and again, sorry for quoting that, but I want a Batman figure fighting in Los Angeles. Now, that's a copyright that you infringed. But if you ask a superhero wearing a black cape and maybe have like horns like a bat and something created that looks like a Batman, now that's two different, cases. And now the judge will go with the one that you describe instead of, use Batman. There's so many things like that. Something that I heard from one of the lawyers, but it's repeating itself in a lot of conversation. I will ask you to sketch a dragon. You can sketch a dragon on a piece of paper, right? Who owned the rights for a dragon? Have you ever seen a dragon? No, right? You never seen a dragon. Who owned the right for the dragon? Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, the Chinese Empire. Who owned that? There's so many things that we're living with those images and those kind of a perspective without even understanding like if there's an ownership behind them. So it's a lot of method of like being systematic with how you're doing things. But if you're doing your own creation and Arcana's collecting those evidence or like paper trail, you're really good to go.
What then helps with alleviation is the education piece as well, which comes down to the academy, right? So it's almost self-serving to sort of that point. But it is, as long as I think if you have a good, strong legal team that back you and guide you, you'll start to be able to navigate them, but also teach them right at the beginning how to do it correctly through the academy. So again, that's a very different way of approaching it.
100%. There's a lot of courses that are actually starting with how to sketch, how to actually upload your images and then convert them into 100%. I agree. Getting into the motion clip at the end, it's the end result. We're seeing 70 to 80% of our process even before we're getting into motion. Motion is one of the components. We got obviously prompting and uploading and manipulating the images and and enhancing so many components before we're getting into motion to create this video of someone running in the streets or whatever we want to do. So yeah, definitely the way is way more important than the results.
Awesome. One last question for you, Guy. As a well-seasoned CEO, if you zoom out 12 to 24 months, what does scalable B2B motion actually look like for Arcana?
24 months, we haven't even released Arcana. Arcana released like 12 months ago, and the market was shifting so fast. We're in development for 3 and something years, but we launch officially, like not soft launch, March 2025. I think, and we're still experiencing that, and that's the beauty. Yes, there's way more open, minded clients that want to adopt that, including the big ones and the small ones. So yes, the fear is, there's always gauge with everything new that is fear and then switching to excitement. So I think the gauge is already closer to the excitement right now. But to be honest, 12 months ago and even 24 months ago and even 12 months from today, it's going to be the same. The industry is shifting so fast that as long as the IP, the method, the know-how will be there, I think we're going to be in a good place. because I'm not even dealing about Arcana technology or engine is the best. No. Why? Because next week there's going to be something even faster and we're going to implement it. And the following weeks, again, as long as you're putting the process, the workflow, and you create the trust between the clients that understand I can work here. Okay, that's safe. I'm not doing anything that is wrong. I think creating an IP, and actually that's the next step that we're doing with Arcana. We're actually creating a studio, a big studio. We're harnessing the technology, but we think we can leverage IP. We can take so many scripts that no one will ever produce and produce them fast, relatively cheap. We can do a 100 million movie in a 1.5 or 2.5 million. Okay, so we're starting to get into the investment mode of a VC. And sorry for putting my VC hat. Instead of taking 100 million and doing one movie, I can do 30 movies right now. So I'm diversifying my portfolio, de-risking this deal, and suddenly with 100 million, I'm doing tons of content. And that's what we need. That's what the audience need. Content. Give you more. Not even talking about movies or shows. People watching short form on their phone, verticals, whatever, a minute episode. Everything is content. We're not dictating anymore how to consume the content. We just want to create and create more. And I think as long as that's in our head, no matter what type of engines or capabilities, or the cost will be free maybe, we're still perfecting the process, the ability to create and create in a high quality. So that's gonna be here that's here to stay. Comparing to models, I'm not in the model competition. We're definitely not. Next week something better gonna come, and it's just gonna evolve. So the workflow, the IP, and the state of mind of what we're trying to create, that's way more important than the economics of another model, more or less, or pricier, or maybe for free.
Or shiny new things.
Oh yeah.
With this industry, you and I both know how quickly things get released overnight sometimes. But does that necessarily mean it's going to be better? But what Arcana does well is recognize that they do X really well. Let's bring them on board so they can actually be adopted within Arcana rather than competing against them, working with them, which is a very unique perspective, right?
New models, better models are good for us. That's bad for us. We're not in the model competition. We're going to embed them, we're going to implement them, and we're going to create a better system. And that's what we're doing right now. I think that the big struggle is with the model companies that are actually struggle with the big names and studios. Take a look at what happened with ByteDance that got a cease and desist from, I think, Paramount after the short clip with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt fighting fully AI. Immediately, everyone was scared. Guys, come on, we're there. We're gonna get there. So now it's a cease and desist. So they're gonna release in 2-3 months, and if not them, some other company. It's here to stay. I don't think it's eliminating actors. It's definitely not eliminating directors, producers, screenwriters. We need all of them. There's no push of a button to create a content or a movie. Ask ChatGPT to write a script that will make you cry or laugh. It's not existing. It's not going to be here anytime soon. Yes, it can enhance you. And that's the market. We're enhancing people. We're not replacing people. And I think actors, we will need them because the computer will know how to do Brad Pitt at the same Brad Pitt, no matter what type of character. Only the real Brad Pitt could bring something into his character that he will learn and bring the small mimics in his face and characters that audience will want to watch. Computer is not there. And this is why we are a great believers in blend. We're trying not to do 100% when not needed, 100% AI.
Yeah. I think the key component from what you just said is it's not here to replace anybody. It's actually here to alleviate, make it faster, better quality, better access. And how, right? That's really what Arcana is focusing on. Guy, I appreciate how candid you've been, especially around pioneering an industry while simultaneously educating it. That's not an easy territory to operate in. If you're listening and you want to learn more about Arcana Labs and how they're reshaping AI-driven creative workflows, we'll link everything down below in the show notes. And as always, if you find value in this conversation, please share it with another founder or operator who's building in emerging tech, but also who needs a bit of high-quality content. In the meantime, thank you, Guy, for joining us. Keep building meaningfully.
Thank you so much, Jenny. It was a pleasure.